Hi everybody, this is Laura, City Scrapper. Thank you so much for joining me on my channel today. Today I have a layout that I made for a Punched Out Thursday to Die For and for Christie's Beautiful Life 30 Days of Sketches, Day 16. The sketch for today was made by Susanna Lee. She has made a number of popular sketches that have been included in Best of 30 Days of Sketches. I really like this sketch. It's very different from anything that I've made before. And that's one of the many reasons why I love Christie's Beautiful Life 30 Days of Sketches so much. I've used sketches that I never would have selected myself, and I've been really happy with the results. So in order to make those diagonal strips that you see in the sketch, I use some 6-inch wide pieces of heavyweight cardstock, and I drew diagonal strips that were 1 3/4 inches wide. And then I cut them out by hand because they were too long to fit in my trimmer because they're actually longer than 12 inches since they're on a diagonal. And I cut out 3 of them. And then I had an idea of using some strips of paper to cover the strips. I noticed in the sketch that the strips go from lighter on the left to darker on the right. So I picked out some scraps of paper that were 3 different colors, a very light blue, a medium kind of turquoisey blue, and then a darker blue. And some of these I got from my winter papers. I had some scraps in my winter paper envelope. And then I also dipped into some of my scrap pieces of paper, and between those two things, I had enough strips of paper to cover one strip with each of those different color schemes. So I started with the darkest color, and I cut strips that were approximately 1/4 inch wide. All the strips are from different manufacturers and different collections, so I thought to kind of bring all of the strips together to make them look a little bit more cohesive, I would ink the edges of all of them with one color of Distress Oxide. For these strips, which are the darkest ones, I used prize ribbon. And then for the medium color, I used peacock feathers. And for the lightest color, I used tumbled glass. And those are all Distress Oxide colors. So in order to cover the strips, I covered the whole strip with some ATG adhesive. And then I started from one side and I began layering the strips of paper. I didn't want to have really big long strips. I wanted to break the strips up a little bit. And although I'm taking some time considering where to put the different colors and how everything will look in what position, this is a pretty small strip, so I don't really have to spend too much time doing this, and these really didn't take that long to do. So now the whole strip is covered, the whole cardstock strip is covered with the pattern paper strips. And now I'm just trimming some of the paper back a little bit on either end. And then there was a little bit hanging over on one side. And then I took the Distress Oxide and I inked all around the outside edges of this strip. I did the same thing with the 2 other strips, but I also used a little bit of prize ribbon on the lightest color and the middle strip as well, just so that it would stand out a little bit more from the background. And now I've completed the 3 strips of paper. I'm going to order them the way they are in the sketch, from light on the left to dark on the right. I wanted to make a mixed media background, so I'm drawing some lines just to have a rough idea of where the strips of paper are going to go, so I know where to put the sprays. I started out with a Mr. Huey spray, and this color is called Seafoam. I don't want this color to be dark, so I'm adding a little bit of water to the sprays as I put them on the page. I'm using the packaging technique, using a piece of plastic to apply and move the color around. Now the strips are mainly going to be covering the center part of the layout, but because there's a little bit of space between the strips, I didn't want to leave it totally white, so I'm adding a little bit of color to the center of the layout as well. I really like this color. This is the first time that I've used this Mr. Huey spray. I bought it a while back at Tuesday Morning. Although it's a blue color, I think there's a little touch of purple in there, and I like that combination with all the blues. I was wondering whether I should add some other colors of blue or not. I was thinking I have so many different colors of blue on those pattern papers. I do end up adding a few splatters of a darker blue, but not a lot. I was thinking that it would be best to probably keep the background light. I love mixed media backgrounds. I think they add so much character to layouts, but I didn't want to go crazy putting too much color in the background. I did end up adding some splatters of darker blue. You just saw that I added some splatters. I was using a art anthology spray and the color is indigo. And I roll the paper towel on top. I don't want there to be too many dark splatters on the background. And then I go back in with the other two colors of spray that I've already used, and I add some splatters of those to the background as well. Now I'm splattering some water on the background. I like to splatter water and then roll a paper towel over the top, and that technique will lift up some of the color when the water is removed from the background. And I do this on all my mixed media layouts. I just love the effect that it makes on the background. It makes these little water droplets and it adds a lot of variation, and I think it looks great, so I always do it. I wanted to add something else to the layout, so I'm using this Vicki Boutin stencil. I got this in one of my creative scrapbook kits, and it came in very handy. It's a really beautiful winter themed stencil. It has snowflakes and falling snow, and I'm using the stencil with Heidi Swapp metallic texture paste. This color is white. It's a little off-white, but I like the way it adds a little bit of glitter and glimmer to the background. I was thinking of just using some white modeling paste, but I wanted it to be a little more shiny and snow-like, so I wanted to use something that had a shine to it. And then once again, I put most of this texture paste on the edge where I know the pattern papers are going to end and where I know you're going to see it, but I also put a little bit in the center of the layout behind where those strips of paper are going to be, again, because I know that there are small openings between the strips and I want there to be some snow showing through. And I wanted to mention that I use a heat gun and I dry each layer of color and texture paste and everything that I put on the layout before adding something else to the layout. Each layer has to be dry before a new layer is added. Now I'm splattering some watered down white acrylic paint on the background. I haven't shown you the picture yet, but it's a photo of my younger daughter, Julia, in January when there's snow on the ground. Since there is going to be a snow and a winter theme to this layout, I was thinking I really can't add too many splatters. A lot of the background is white, and any visible droplets will just look like snow. So I keep going with the white splatters because I just feel that there will never be a point where I'll feel that there are too many splatters. So once again, I dried the background very, very well. And now I'm putting some ATG adhesive on each of the strips and I'm attaching them down to the mixed media background. And they're very faint, but I can still see the pencil lines a bit. So I am using those pencil lines that I drew earlier to help guide me placing the strips down on the background. But then I started thinking that I wanted the strips to be a little bit further from the right edge of the paper. So I moved the blue strip over a little bit, and now I'm moving the two other strips over as well. And I put quite a bit of adhesive on those strips because there is some mixed media on the background, including that texture paste, and sometimes elements have trouble sticking to the background when that's on it. So I did use a lot of adhesive. I'm going to use a 4x6 photo that I have trimmed down just slightly. I trimmed a very small amount off the top and then off of one of the sides. I just thought that it would look better a tiny bit smaller. And then I backed it on some heavy white cardstock, the same cardstock that I used as the base for the strips of paper in the background. And now I am popping up the photo on some foam, and I'm using some little scraps of foam that I had in my stash and piecing them together on the back of the photo. Once the photo is popped up on some foam, I use some ATG adhesive once again to attach the photo down to the layout. I'm going to put the photo closer to the bottom of the page than to the top of the page, just as you see in the sketch. I found this bow. It is dark blue, and it looks like it has a winter print on it, so I thought that would be perfect for right underneath the photo. And then my older daughter, Danielle, she came up with a title for me to use on this layout, and it's going to be Having an Ice Day. I thought that that was cute and appropriate. I'm using 2 different kinds of thickers for this layout. I use some glittery white, rather large thickers for the words ice and day, and then I'm using these very, very small thickers in navy blue for the words having an. And I started off by putting those little letters on the top of the title, but then I ended up moving them to the left. I just thought it looked a little bit more interesting over there on the left. I generally arrange and attach down the letter stickers off camera. I just find that it's kind of tedious and time consuming and not something that I think most people would want to watch. And then I wanted to add some snowflakes to the layout. I was laughing to myself because I opened up my winter embellishment box and it was about 95% snowflakes, all different sizes, all different types. I really don't have a lot of winter embellishments. Anytime I do buy them, I tend to buy snowflakes. And while I love snowflakes, it would have been nice to have some other embellishments for this layout as well. But I end up just making do with these Fun Stampers Journey snowflakes. I got these from a Spellbinder sale. They are a wood veneer. I like the way the snowflakes are very detailed, and there are several different sizes and different patterns. And I just thought that they were a good addition to the layout. I liked the way they looked when I put them down. So I used some glue to attach them down because I didn't trust the sticker in the center. It didn't really look that sticky. And then I added some dots to the center. These are some iridescent dots. They're Paper Studio brand. I really love these. I buy them often. They have a pinkish purpley cast, just the way snow sometimes does. So I thought that would be a nice addition to the centers of the snowflakes. Now, even though this is a punched out Thursday to die for, I have not used any punches up till now. This is just a really simple layout, and I don't have a lot of embellishing, and I don't have any shapes that aren't on the sketch. So I added some photo corners, and I use my EK Success scalped photo corner punch to make those. And then I inked the edges with the prize ribbon that was already on the dauber, and then I used some adhesive and I attached each of the photo corners down. I used 4 different colors to kind of mimic the variety of colors that are in those strips of paper in the background. And then once the photo corners were attached down, I used the smallest of the dots to embellish each of the photo corners. I had placed an iridescent dot on the center of the bow under the photo, and then I found these little epoxy snowflakes, and I thought that that would look kind of cute on the bow instead. So I removed the dot, I attached down the snowflake with some glossy accents, and then I added a smaller dot to the center of the snowflake. And then I decided that I was going to add a whole bunch of those same jewels all around the layout to look like snow. The layout was looking close to being done, but it just needed a little something extra. So I thought that these might do the trick. They are not bringing a new color into the layout, but they do bring a little bit more interest, a little bit more dimension. And I really love these dots, and they do look like snow to me. So I added a whole bunch. But you'll notice in the final layout that I have moved a whole bunch of the snowflakes around since I finished making the layout. Sometimes I will look at the layout the next day and then I will immediately dislike something that I've done, or I'll kind of see things clearly the next day. And so I took a bunch of the dots that are on the bottom left-hand corner and I put them in other areas of the layout. Here are some close-ups of the final layout. Thanks so much for spending some time with me. I really hope that you enjoyed this video. Please take a look in the description box to the links to all the other ladies who create layouts for A Punched Out Thursday to Die For. And don't forget to check out the playlist of all the Best of Christy's Beautiful Life 30 Days of Sketches videos. I hope you have a wonderful day. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.